Mesechas C'irovin, Perik Zayin, Mishnah Yud Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Noisein Odom mo'o lachen voni v'lanachtem kedei sheyizke lo eruv divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Mishnah says that a person can give a coin to the shopkeeper or to the baker in terms for eruv chatzeros, because there you're required to use pas, kedei sheyizke lo eruv, for the purposes of being a shutuf in the eruv chatzeros or the shitufei mavuos. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. The chiddush being here is that when he gives the money to the shopkeeper, he is not making any kinyan whatsoever on the food, and is not making a meshicha. All he's doing is a kinyan moas, and the halacha is that moas einon konos. Moas is not a good kinyan. But Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion, although moas einon konos, midyuraisa moas is kona. It's only midrabanon that moas is not kona. The money is not kona, and therefore, in the case of the eruv, chachomim were mekel and allowed you to stand on the din Torah, and therefore the money would be considered a valid kinyan. There is an opinion of Rish Lakish, or many paskin like, that even Devar Torah moas is not konis. It's not just a drabonon that moas is not konis, but nonetheless even Rish Lakish would admit that there are some opinions that moas could be kona Devar Torah, and therefore in the case of C'irovin we can rely on that opinion, even though it's not la halacha generally, but in the case of C'irovin we can rely on that. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. V'chachomim omrim lo zochu lo ma'osov. Had he said and had he made the chenveni, the shopkeeper, a shliach, then that would be in order. But he didn't make him a shliach. He just gave him the money and asked to participate in the eruv. That is not the proper shlichus. In which case he's relying on the fact that his money is kona. If that's the case, moas einon konas, money is not kona, and therefore he is not a participant in the eruv. Umodim b'sharkol odom shezochu lo ma'osov. If he gave money to another member of the chotz, who was not a shopkeeper, that would be a form of shlichus, and that he's asking the other person to act as his agent in order to give him a chelek in the eruv, and thereby that would be a good kinyan that would work effectively. It's only with a shopkeeper where he gives the money where the intention is to be kona with the money, and the money can't be kona. In that case the chachamim disagree. But if he gives it to another individual, he gives his money to another individual, he's not making a kinyan with the money, he's asking the other party to be a shliach, or effectively he's asking the other party to be a shliach, and therefore it would be effective. Says the Mishnah, she'ein ma'arvin la'odom ela midate, that when you make an eruv, it can only be done midato. It's got to be with his intention. He has to be instructed, and if he doesn't instruct him, therefore he is not necessarily a partner in the eruv, because it may not be a zechus for him, and therefore he must instruct the other person specifically to act on his behalf. Omer Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda says, and again we have a machlokus in the Meforshim whether Rabbi Yehuda is mechuluk with the Tanakama. Maybe the Tanakama would also agree that it's only with eruv techumin that is considered to be a chov and you have to give specific instructions. But with eruv chatzeros is considered to be a zechus, and therefore it doesn't have to be done midaito. Or maybe that Rabbi Yehuda is in fact mechulek, and he considers eruv chatzeros is a zechus, is always considered to be a zechus, and therefore you don't require das in the case of eruv chatzeros. It's only Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. But eruv techumin, that is with eruv techumin, clearly that's a chov, because if you make an eruv techumin without the das of the person, you're restricting him in going in whatever he gains in one direction, he loses in the other direction. And that clearly could be a chov. And for that reason, Eruv Techumin would certainly be considered a chov, and therefore it would require das. But Eruv Chatzeros, it could be considered that it's a zechus, and therefore, if it is a zechus, therefore you don't require a das. We learned in the previous Mishnah that even in the case of Eruv Chatzeros, there could be cases where it would be a chov, and the Meforshim deal with that. Aval be'eruv chatzeros me'arvin the data v'shelo data. In the case of eruv chatzeros, generally speaking, it's a zechus, and therefore you can make an eruv chatzeros without his knowledge at all. If being a zechus, therefore you don't require his input of das, and you can assume that he would be maskim. Whereas if it's a chov, like the case of eruv techumin, you must specifically ask for instructions, or must be with his knowledge, and without his knowledge, you cannot act as a shliach on his behalf. With eruv chatzeros, he can act as a shliach on his behalf, even if he doesn't know anything about it. The link between the second part of the Mishnah and the first part of the Mishnah is not so clear, but we explained it according to the Rov Meforshim.